I used to be a young man. Honest, I've got pictures to prove it. They look a bit funny now, the pictures, that is. Because I look so young. My hair was a solid color, and my own 2 legs were enough to get me around. Funny, when you're young, you can't imagine being old, but when you're old, you can't imagine how you got there so fast. I have no explanation or insights for this. That's simply the way it is. Fact is, I have few explanations or insights for anything. Being old and being wise don't always go hand in hand. I'm a little disappointed about that. The only thing I've really learned is that I've got a lot left to learn, and less time to learn. What did I come up here to talk about? Oh yes, families. I don't understand what all the fuss is about in families. Seems like everybody's talking about that. There are all kind of books and, what do you call those things? The video machines. Videotapes. Videotapes. With lectures about how to be a family. I suppose they're all right. I tried to watch one, but I fell asleep partway through. Something about, what women want to know about husbands and they're too afraid to ask, or something like that. I get confused. Maggie, that's my wife. She says people spend so much time listening and watching that they never have time to do what they're supposed to do. I hate to admit it, but she can be downright intelligent for a senile old woman. It's her birthday today. I can't tell you how old she is. She kept telling me to forget about it, and I finally did. All I know is that she was born sometime in the 20th century, I think. When was the Panama Canal built? I think her birthday has something to do with that. Maybe I'll make her a cake. Last year I put a candle on for every year I thought she was alive. We had to bring an ambulance after she tried to blow them all out. That's when we were on our holiday in Florida. Englewood. It's got a beach. My sister Nancy and her husband Jack get all kinds of peculiar looking seashells there. They make, what do you call them, knickknacks. They gave me one for my birthday. It looks like Winston Churchill. Clever what they do with those things. I went to the beach with them one day and had seagulls eating out of my hand. You hold up a piece of bread and they fly up, eat right out of your hand. They kind of hang there in midair. I hate seagulls. They're rats with wings. I just feed them so they'll get close enough for me to hit them with my cane. Boy, did they get surprised. I had to quit though. Do you know they actually have a fine for clobbering seagulls? It's ridiculous. Only in America. I got sidetracked, didn't I? Oh, what was I talking about? Oh yes, I was going to tell you about our grandkids. God love them. They like to climb all over me. It hurts sometimes, but I don't mind. I think God's calling in life was for me to be a grandfather. I really do. And since I couldn't be as one as a young man, I think then that that's the biggest blessing of being old. I don't know what all the fuss is about, being a family. You simply are. It's not always easy, but then again, nothing worth having ever comes easily. Ask Maggie. She gave birth to the 2 of the best family I ever knew. And that's all I wanted to say, actually.
Thank you. Well, we do want to honor grandparents. We don't have a lot of, we didn't get to go too far out because, like Mother's Day and Father's Day, we already did this once because I had to do that first. But being a grandparent is extra special, and we thought, they always like to have pictures. So we have some picture frames for our grandparents. So there you are, as I recall. And if I don't want to insult you, but I know you're. And are you a grandfather? No. Well, I'm just anybody over 50 can be. You are? Or even younger? All right. How about you guys? All right. I know Pam is. I know Mary is. I know you're young. So, no, you're not grandparents yet. I think there's two of you over there. So, all right. I think that's it. We have one for spares. All right, children, you are excused to go down with Miss Jessica and Miss Alicia. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can you get two for your great grandpa?
No.
We're all great.
Gary's really enjoying that. We got to meet our great-granddaughter last Sunday, so that was pretty special. So it's been pretty cool. We're going to talk about grandparents leaving a legacy. Jeannie Calvert, at age 120, was the oldest at the time that we talked to, met with her, and this story, was the oldest living human whose birth date could be authenticated. And somebody asked her what her vision for the future was. She said, very brief. And then they asked her, what was one of the good things about getting old? And she said, well, there isn't any peer pressure. And there was another gentleman, he was getting into the retirement home, and he was signing up and getting all the information and filling out the application, and he got to the place that said zip, and he wrote, normal for people my age. And then last, I want to share one. I shared this last night. We were at a birthday party, and this gal said she was having a hard time getting to be 50. And I said, well, I wrote a joke on him until tomorrow. Little boy, this lady told the little boy that she was 39 and holding. The little boy thought about that for a minute, and he said, well, when you let go, how old will you be? So I'm sure we have a lot of funny things about seniors, but we also, a lot of us have wonderful memories of our grandparents. Wonderful stories we could share. I love my grandma and grandpa Jenkins. They were just some of my favorite people when I was growing up. Every summer, we spent a week at my grandma and grandpa's house. Grandma would let us go to help her gather eggs and clean up, and this was fun for us, I don't know, and go clean out the chicken coop, and she kept beautiful flower gardens and beautiful gardens, and it was just a lot of fun to be at Grandma and Grandpa's house. They had pigs, and they had a couple of cows, and they milked by hand, so it was just fun for us. I mean, we were on a farm, but being at Grandma and Grandpa's was special, and I always wanted to be like them. And a lot of evenings, I remember going to our rooms, and when I go past my grandparents' room, I often saw my grandpa on his knees beside his bed praying. And those are some of those memories and those things that I always want to be like that. And there were 6 of us, and they taught us, we loved to play 500s as a family growing up. Well, there were 6 kids, you can't play 500 with 6. So Grandma found a game called Pitch, which is basically 500 for 6. So we played a game of 500 for 6 people. And we had a great time, and she used to record us all the time on her cassette tape, so that when we were gone, she could listen to us, laugh and argue and whatever, 8 or 6 people can do together. But she loved us, and we always knew that. We always knew that we would receive unconditional love from Grandma and Grandpa, and we always wanted to be like them. We loved to be there. Grandparenting really is, in some ways, has changed in a lot of ways. Grandparents, many of them still work. They're still very active. Grandparents are living much longer than they used to, and they're very busy. Often we live hundreds of miles from our grandchildren, so it takes a lot of work to be with them or to spend time with them. Our 2 oldest grandchildren were born out in Northern California, and we didn't really get to see them very often until Mom and Dad split up, and Mom ended up moving to Spring Valley, and then we got to see them more often. And now they live up near Fargo, which, it's closer, but you still don't just drive up to Fargo on a day. And so we still don't see them as often. But to see them and to enjoy them is wonderful. And now often we have 2 grandchildren here in church with us on Sundays. Today we have one. But that's always a special blessing to have your grandkids around and to do that with them. And then, like I said, last Sunday afternoon, we got to meet our great-granddaughter, Eleanor. So we enjoy having our grandchildren around. Today has been labeled National Grandparents' Day, and that was signed into law by Jimmy Carter in 1978. Each year, the President is requested to issue a proclamation to designate the first Sunday in September after Labor Day as National Grandparents' Day, and to call on people, groups, and organizations to observe the day with appropriate ceremonies and activities. Grandparents are very special and continue to be an integral part of our lives, no matter the age. And as we age and our parents age, we need to continue to be challenged to not waste those years that we've been given. I want to propose this morning that no matter how old you are, no matter how much zip you got left, you have still more to give. As we grow older, our responsibilities will grow with us. And I want you to listen to the words of Psalm 92:14. Actually, it'll be up on the screen as well. They will still bear fruit in old age, and they will stay fresh and green. Before passing on, make sure you can pass on a legacy. We all want to leave a legacy. All of us want to be remembered and remembered well. Not like in the old movie of Cat Ballou where the Kid Shalene and the gang go to the hole in the wall and they're at this saloon and this old man comes by and he says, "Kid Shalene, you remember me. I'm old, what's his name?" And he walked on. He couldn't remember his own name. He couldn't remember himself, so obviously none of us will remember him either. It's a sad thing to think about. It's a sad epitaph, but better is, there's a quote in a park along the statue, and it says, "In old age, give good advice, then die without regrets." It is never too late to build a positive legacy, one that will help us to die without regret. And so there was a special aerodynamics in NBC a few years back. Researchers found that the most defining social change taking in place in America was the aging of America. Someone turns 50 every 6 seconds, and people over 50 account for 43% of U.S. households. The over 85 group used to be the fastest growing segment of the population. They've now been surpassed by millennials. They are actually the fastest growing segment of our population. People that were born from 1980 to 2000 are the largest growing segment of our population right now. The next is people over 85. And then the next is people over 65, the boomers. The U.S. population age 65 and over is expected to double in the next 20 years. Life expectancy at the turn of the century was 46 years old. Now, for women, it is 81. For males, it is 76. We have more seniors in our society, and they're living longer. Along with those numbers, there was some findings in George Barna's book, America at the Crossroads, which show a decline in evangelical Christianity among generations as well. The elders, which are those that are older than the boomers that are still around, are 31% of those are evangelical Christians. Next is baby boomers. They're 29%. Gen Xers, 25%, and millennials, 22%. There was a definite decline with each succeeding generation. In the book of Judges 2:10, there's a prophetic picture of what our world and our state of our church is today. After that whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Here's what strikes me about those numbers. While none of them are very large percentages overall, the older generations have a more vibrant faith. And it's imperative that these older generations pass on that faith to the next generation. Before passing on, we need to make sure we pass on our faith and leave by leaving a legacy. The character of our children tomorrow depends on what we put in their hearts today. If we expect the younger generation to grow spiritually, those of us who are older must pass on what we possess. The children's ministry team met this past Tuesday night, and we talked about some of these issues and how best we can serve the children on Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings. And we recognize too, we also need to be working on connecting and equipping families by having a vision for the future. For the next 100 years, whereby one generation tells the next, which passes it on to the next, about their faith. We don't want to make converts only, just get them saved and then everything's taken care of. We want them to be committed disciples of Jesus Christ, which means that they'll be able to know Jesus. They'll be able to grow in their faith and mature. They'll be able to show it to their families and to their communities. And they'll be able to go out and tell others. As part of knowing, growing, and showing, and going with Jesus. Jesus loves everyone, and he wants people to know him. He wants us to learn to love the next generation as much as we love our own, and to pass on our faith as well. We live in a culture that promotes youthfulness and often puts down the elderly. The Bible calls us instead to honor the aged. In Leviticus 19:32, it says, "Rise in the presence of the aged, show respect for the elderly, and revere your God. I am the Lord." Did you know there's a passage in Scripture that's often referred to as a psalm for the aged? And you'll find it in Psalm 71, and that's where I'd like you to turn with me right now. Pages 467 and 468 in your Bibles there. They think King David wrote it. We aren't sure exactly, but from what it sounds like, it certainly could be his words. It says, "In you, O Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. Rescue me and deliver me in your righteousness. Turn your ear to me and save me. Be my rock of refuge to which I can always go. Give the command to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Deliver me, O my God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of evil and cruel men. For you have been my hope, O sovereign Lord, my confidence since my youth. From birth I have relied on you. You brought me forth from my mother's womb. I will ever praise you. I have become like a portent to many, but you are my strong refuge. My mouth is filled with your praise, declaring your splendor all day long. Do not cast me away when I am old. Do not forsake me when my strength is gone. For my enemies speak against me. Those who wait to kill me conspire together. They say, God has forsaken me. Pursue him and seize him, for no one will rescue him. Be not far from me, O God. Come quickly, O my God, to help me. May my accusers perish in shame. May those who want to harm me be covered with scorn and disgrace. But as for me, I will always have hope. I will praise you more and more. My mouth will tell of your righteousness, of your salvation all day long, though I know not its measure. I will come and proclaim your mighty acts, O sovereign Lord. I will proclaim your righteousness, yours alone. Since my youth, O God, you have taught me, and to this day I declare your marvelous deeds. Even when I am old and gray, do not forsake me, O God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your might to all who are to come. In righteousness, your righteousness reaches to the skies, O God. You who have done great things. Who, O God, is like you? Though you have made me see troubles many and bitter, you will restore my life again. From the depths of the earth, you will again bring me up. You will increase my honor and comfort me once again. I will praise you with the harp for your faithfulness, O my God. I will sing praise to you with the lyre, O Holy One of Israel. My lips will shout for joy when I sing praise to you. I, whom you have redeemed, my tongue will tell of your righteous acts all day long. For those who wanted to harm me have been put to shame and to confusion. As we read those, we see a man with a lot of different stuff going on that he's talking about. In the beginning, in verse 2, he says, rescue me. Verse 3, he says, save me. And verse 4, he says, deliver me. King David has gotten old, and his enemies think he's now a prime target for takeover. So his troubles are increasing as a nation. The neighboring communities and neighboring countries are trying to take over. And he's feeling the pressure. And he's crying out to God, rescue me, deliver me. And he says, God, by your righteousness, God, you're my hope, you're my rock, you're my fortress. David is trusting God. And he knows that God will see him through his difficulties, to continue to be with him, just like he's been with him all through the years. As David writes, he says, you have been my hope, my confidence since my youth. Since he was a young boy. You have to remember, David has known God for a long time, and we got to meet David as a young man in the Scriptures. He was a young man that he went up to the king, and he was basically a delivery boy for his parents, and he got to the army and got to King Saul, and he ended up fighting Goliath with a sling and a stone. And he said to King Saul at the time, he said, I have been out, being a shepherd, taking care of sheep, and I've killed them. The Lord has helped me to kill a bear, he has helped me to kill a lion. I can kill this Philistine too. But he was a young man that trusted God and knew that God was going to take care of him. And all through his lifetime, from the time that he killed Goliath until the time that he was king of Israel, God protected him and took care of him. It wasn't always easy. He was hiding from Saul. He went through a lot of hard times. But he recognized that God was with him. Instead of worrying, David chooses to praise. Even though he wrote in verse 7, he had become a wonder or a monster. People were looking at him, and stuff was so bad in his life that people were surprised at how things could have gotten that bad. David kept the faith, and he knew God was a strong refuge. Then David asked God not to forget him when he got old. I mean, he's been slowing down, and like in our society, sometimes our society forgets or puts the seniors kind of on a shelf, and well, they're old, they're feeble, their minds are on, they really don't know anything. I know when I took my grandpa to the doctor, or my dad even, I felt like sometimes the doctors didn't really give the respect that my grandparents should have. I thought, they act like he can't think, or sometimes they kind of put him down, or just didn't treat him like they would me. And I thought, that's not right. And I saw that every once in a while. And I know in our culture we tend to not respect the elderly as we should. But David cries out to God, and he says, be not far from me. Come quickly to help me. David knows he needs to pray. He knows he needs to rely on God to trust him. And when we hear this man that has experienced his faithfulness and God's miracles and provisions, in verses 14 to 16 we read, as for me, I will always have hope. I will praise you more and more. My mouth will tell of your righteous deeds. Proclaim your mighty acts, sovereign Lord. I will proclaim your righteous deeds, yours alone. This man remembers all that God has done in and through his life. David remembers those times of protection and blessing and victory. He knows he can trust God because God has taken care of him before. Those of us that are grandparents, we have a lot of those kind of memories, especially those of us that are believers. We can think of all those times that God has seen us through those difficult times. All those times that God has helped us and given us the strength that we need. And we can share that with our family, with our grandkids. When my daughter calls on the phone from Texas this week, she's all bent out of shape because she has to buy a bunch of stuff for tech school. And she has gotten her bank account a little down to the bottom where it shouldn't have gotten before she realized how much she had to spend. And she is lamenting how awful life is. And I said, it happens. All of us have been there. But I could remind her that, God will see her through. That if she trusts him, if she's doing the right thing, just to take it one day at a time, not to worry about, all the days ahead, all today. Just take it one day at a time. God will take care of her. God will help her. Give her the strength. Or when our grandkids come down with our great-granddaughter, when they're asking about marriage, or if they're learning about things, we can share with them that God's faithfulness, that God will bless them as they continue to follow him and put him first in their lives. Those are the things that God wants us to do as grandparents. Through all those times of our growing in our faith, we can praise God and share those times of God's faithfulness to those around us. The psalmist said in that next verse, since my youth, O God, you have taught me, and to this day I declare your marvelous deeds. David experienced God's protection and provision all his life, from a shepherd to a king. And David shared that with the people around him. He wanted the people of Israel to know the Lord, that same God loved them, and he could see them through. In verse 18 we read, even when I'm old and gray, do not forsake me, O God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your might to all who are to come. David wanted to have time to tell about what God had done in his life. The prophet Isaiah wrote about God's faithfulness in 46:4. It says, God's talking to the prophet, and he says, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am he. I am he who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. Gray hair is often, most of us don't want gray hair. Most of us have to put up with it or have to take care of it or whatever. But in the Bible, in Proverbs, gray hair was an honor. In Proverbs 16:31, it says, gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained by a righteous life. In 20:29, it says, the glory of young men is their strength. Gray hair is the splendor of the old. No one, like I said, likes gray hair or arthritic fingers or sore knees or getting up in the bed, getting up on, just feeling like everything's aching when you get up in the morning. But that's just part of growing older and slowing down. And we need to take that, but when we do slow down, when we realize that and accept that, we can take that time that God is using to slow us down and use it for Him. We need to take that time and share with the next generation about our faith. As a church, that's part of our mission as well, to take it to the next generation. Through Kids Zone worship on Sunday mornings and Kids Club on Wednesday nights, we want to tell and share with the next generation about Jesus Christ and His love for them. We want them to know the God of the Bible that loves them with an everlasting love. We want them to know God's forgiveness and His redemption and His grace. Yet we only have them these 2 hours a week as a church. And the schools have them, 30 to 40 hours a week. Families, parents and grandparents, you can influence them over 125 hours a week. They got to sleep part of that time, but the rest of that is time where we can have an influence as families. Grandparents and parents have a tremendous responsibility to tell the next generation of God and His love for them. David said, don't forsake me when I tell about your power to the next generation. David wanted God's strength so that he would have time and strength to tell the next generation. We can leave a great legacy of faith. The evangelist John Wesley was one of these men that really worked hard on serving God all of his life. And what's amazing is, the facts are up there, he rode 350,000 miles and on horseback, and he preached some 40,000 different sermons. And at the age of 83, he started complaining because he could only study for 15 hours a day. At the age of 86, he was concerned that he was becoming lazy because he was sleeping till 5 in the morning. And at 87, he learned his 11th foreign language. At 88, he was worried because he could only preach twice a day, 6 days a week. It was up to 6 times a day when he was younger. This man obviously burned the candle clear to the time he died. He wasn't in bed he was only sick like a couple of weeks before he was gone to the Lord. Demographers have identified that there's kind of a new life stage. I mean, we had middle age and then we had old age. Well, now they put one in the middle. They call it the prime time. And that's where a lot of people fall now because, like we were saying, that age group is continuing, especially the baby boomers are getting older, but they're healthy and they can be active, but a lot of them are retiring. And what's happening is that, they have a lot of time on their hands. And that's a great time to start using that for service and volunteering. The guys I play softball with on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays or whatever, a lot of them, they're all retired. Well, I didn't say they're all retired, but most of them are retired. And most of them, I would say at least 50% or even more, they're actively volunteering during the week. They play ball, but that isn't all they do. They don't just sit home the rest of the time and watch television. A lot of them are serving with the Red Cross in their churches or in different areas. A lot of them are serving at the schools. But these men and women, I'm sure that has a lot to do with how they're staying so young and can still play ball. But they're out there serving. A couple of them are referees still for basketball for the public school. One guy is 80, and he's been in the paper a few times. And he still referees high school basketball. And if you know how much of a high school basketball referee runs, I'm very amazed. And he pitches great. He's a great pitcher, and he hits the ball pretty well too. But this guy is very amazing to watch out on the athletic court. And there's a number of other guys that serve in those ways too. But life isn't over at 65. In a way, it's just the beginning. People are living far longer, and that's a prime time to spend with your families, your grandchildren, your neighbors, your community. A longer life is an opportunity for ministry. In Psalm 78, 4-6, David another psalm that says, we will not hide them from our children. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power and the wonders he has done. He decreed statutes for Jacob and established the law in Israel, which he commanded our forefathers to teach our children to the next generation, so that they would know them, even the children yet to be born, and they in turn would tell their children. David wants to stay alive long enough to leave a legacy. He wants us to do the same. If you're younger, I want you to, it's time that maybe you should be seeking out the wisdom of somebody older. One senior citizen summed up kind of what the skit talked about, except this woman said, you know, I've learned all this stuff, but now nobody's asking me the questions. Now, if you're younger, ask them. They have the knowledge. They have been around. They have something they can offer you. And if you're an older person of faith in the community, intentionally ask what you can do. You know, go ahead and consider yourself asked and tell somebody. Mentor somebody. If you're older, seek out somebody younger. Have you done everything you can do in your family to declare God's deeds to that next generation? What plan do you have to do it? Moses taught Joshua. Elijah invested in Elisha. Naomi taught Ruth about God, and Elizabeth mentored Mary. And Barnabas believed in Mark, and Paul, he mentored Timothy and Titus. If you're still alive, it's not too late to leave a legacy. Before passing on, make sure you pass it on by leaving a legacy. Be a legacy leader. Today is Grandparents' Day, and I realize we don't have, not all of us have those people around us anymore. But I want you today, too, to take time to call somebody, to visit, reflect on your grandparents. And if they're not around, somebody, a senior in your community, somebody, one of your neighbors, there's people around us that would love a visit, would love that time to spend with us. Let them know how much you love and appreciate them. And as for those of you that are grandparents, if you haven't started it yet, it's time for you to be leaving a legacy of faith behind you to the next generation. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you. We thank you for those people, those grandparents in our lives that have left a legacy of faith to us. And Lord, we lift that up to you and ask you to help us, even though many of us aren't grandparents here today, that we can leave a legacy behind us of our faith, that we can share our faith to the next generation. Lord, help us to mentor each other. Help us to grow together. Help us to go, show, know, and grow in the faith that you have us to grow in. And Lord, we just thank you that we can impact the next generation. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Today is also communion. And as Jesus called us to remember him and to